On an average day in 1947, the superhero Mr. Incredible was out doing his superhero work when he encountered his #1 fan, Buddy.
My name is Incrediboy.
My bad, Incrediboy. Now this was just a typical encounter. Listen, kid, I've seen your reposts about Gamma Jack and Elastigirl, and let me just say I'm very offended.
Wait, you've seen my TikTok? Did you see my—
Yes, buddy, I've seen your gender-swapping artwork of me. Then this Giga Chad-looking version of Sid from Toy Story kid is so determined, he decides to show up to an actual crime scene just to show off his rocket boots, which honestly aren't even that impressive in this universe. And this is what Mr. Incredible says, one of the most iconic quotes in Pixar history.
Fly home, buddy. I work alone.
This simple rejection made Buddy so insane that he decided to commit one of the most terrifying acts in all of humanity. Getting a job! Which ironically ended up being the most unemployed thing Buddy could have ever done.
Incrediboy!
Shut your freaking mouth. Because this guy decided to get a job so he could become rich just so he could afford Project Kronos. What is Project Kronos, you may ask? It's a secret project in which Buddy designed robots called Omnidroids to kill every single super in brutal ways. Well, not every super, some of them didn't die. And when I say brutal ways, I mean brutal ways. Tearing them in half, cutting their heads off, shooting their heads off or something like that. This move, and so much more. And all of this was just to get back at Mr. Incredible. Like, that has to be some next levels of get a life. Now, I was just chilling. Think about exactly what I'm going to do for a video when it hit me. The Incredibles is a superhero universe made for kids that's pretty dark, actually. But there's another superhero universe that was also made for kids, but is way more lighthearted with potty humor and occasionally death. That universe is... So George and Helmet comic books were cool. Me too, but they had a mean old principal who told them what to blah blah blah, so they got a hypno reading. First they made him dance, then accidentally kind of purpose turned him into Captain Underpants, tra-la-la. Could the Omnidroids adapt to this universe? Or would they just be the villains of another George and Harold adventure? Let's answer the question. Can the Omnidroids survive the Captain Underpants series? For this video, instead of just using the version 10 the whole time, we're going to start all the way back with the version 1. And if it loses, we'll start where we left off with the next, more powerful Omnidroid. Here's the bracket that they're going to be going through. So without further ado, let's get into it. The Omnidroid version 1 versus the Talking Toilets. The version 1 took down supers such as Psychwave the Sex Offender, Everseer, and...
Oh, they like the Baskins, so I'm a Universal Man.
Which, given Universal Man's stats, is an insane track record, and it gets you thinking, how did these guys die? Well, I'm going to be honest with you. Most of these supers are either very challenged, like inbred levels of retarded, or they have as much durability as the legendary Urn of Whispering Warriors. So it wasn't really that hard to kill these guys. The version 1 was most likely immune to Psychwave's powers, considering it's a robot and not a human, and it probably plummeted her to death because she's not really that durable. Now, as for defeating Everseer, it's likely that over time his powers were wearing off, similar to what was happening to Mr. Incredible over the years, and then the robot just did the same thing. Or, there's a theory that Everseer actually foresaw the future, that if all the Glory Days supers died, supers would somehow be legal again. So he allowed the robot to kill him. You may think this was a harsh, inhuman decision for him to make, but most of these guys are bad people anyway. They kind of had to go. As for Universal Man, he may have been indestructible, but there was still a way for the Omnidroid version 1 to easily kill him, and that's drowning. Yeah, the file never said anything about him not needing oxygen to survive, so overall, we can safely conclude that this Omnidroid can manhandle people with the peak of human strength, and it has wheels, so it should be pretty agile. So how does it hold up to the Talking Toilets? Well, the version 1 passes with mid-difficulty. The Talking Toilets don't do much besides gobbling up some teachers. And even then, the teachers would never hurt at all, not even a single scratch. I could see the overwhelming numbers put a challenge onto the Omnidroid, but eventually, the robot comes out on top. Now, the Wicked Wedgie Woman. The Wedgie Woman was able to push over pillars, wedding pillars, and when she got her hair tentacles, she could lift a fat cop with just one hair tentacle. But most importantly for this battle is that Wedgie Woman is intelligent. As George says in the book, I think some of that extra strength superpower juice must have soaked into her brain. She was smart enough to build Robo, George, and Harold, two very powerful characters in the verse, out of house appliances. This is important though because the version 1 never dealt with people who are particularly intelligent.
Hey pal, you just blowing from Stupid Town?
Besides Everseer, and even then, he hits like a pillow and is made of glass. I feel like this battle would go on a bit, but sooner or later, Wedgie Woman would use her strong tentacles and her knowledge of robot anatomy to tear the version 1 apart. After this humiliating defeat, Syndrome sends in the version 2. The version 2 took down supers such as Macro Burst, the Flanch, and Blaze Stone. The only real improvements the version 2 has is that he's more durable and more agile. However, I think these are the improvements this robot needs to beat Wedgie Woman. Her tentacles aren't strong enough to really tear through the version 2, and she still has the durability of a normal human, so... Next character on the list, we got,
Professor... is that really your name? It's not like some kind of joke.
No, it's not like a joke. It's a traditional name in New Switzerland.
Am I pronouncing it right? Poopy pants.
More or less, except the emphasis is on the poop.
all this guy really did was take a couple hits from a giant Captain Underpants. Now, since this is an older book, we can't really use Captain Underpants' later feats. So this guy isn't that much more durable than the giant dandelion that Captain Underpants killed previously. Plus, the version 2 should be pretty stronger than the version 1. But overall, I feel like Professor P should pull through with mid-difficulty. I mean, just look at the size difference. And yes, size plays a factor in both of these verses. Now to bring in the version 3. The Omnidroid version 3 took down supers such as Downburst, which isn't that impressive. Yeah, he can reshape matter, which should be crazy powerful, but his power is freaking nerfed. He literally can't do anything more than fix small wounds and make a bicycle. Plus, he's super weak. I don't even know how he managed to beat the version 2. The version 3 is barely an upgrade good enough to defeat Professor P. Next one, the Omnidroid version 4. This Wednesday Addams-looking robot took down supers such as Hypershock, Apogee, I can't pronounce that, Vectress, Tradewind, and Blitzerman. Hypershock has seismic wave disruption powers, and his last recorded maximum is unknown, so technically it's not recorded. His first maximum, however, is 6.0 on the Richter scale, which could destroy poorly constructed buildings. That makes this Omnidroid way more durable than its predecessors. Apology, because that's what I'm going to call her, because she needs to apologize for even being a super. Like, her weakness is absence of light. She's just the opposite of a vampire. And I think we know for a fact that she was probably just jumped in the middle of the night, so we're not using any of her powers or feats, because, I mean, come on, they're useless. I mean, all of that. And you need to be a hero in the daytime. Like, come on. Oh, and there's no info on Vectress, Tradewind, or Blitzerman. So, not much for this Omnidroid. However, I think it's durable enough to pull through and eventually take down Professor P's robot body with mid to high difficulty. Now we move on to Robo, George, and Harold, and no, the version 4 is getting clapped. Robo, George, and Harold are the first city-destroying villains of the series. That's such a big leap from Professor P, who is already a challenge for the version 4. Now the Omnidroid version 5. The V5 took down Gazerbeam and Stormside. And I'm just going to make this quick and say the version 5 loses. Stormside isn't really that strong or durable, and her only powers are absorbing and venting gases. You really think that's going to do much against the robot? Gazerbeam also isn't that much impressive. Not to forget, this robot was destroyed by a character with destructive powers similar to bombs and rockets, and well, yeah. Now the Omnidroid V6. I wonder who this robot took down. Oh. Oh. Now you may think killing Gamma Jack is a big feat considering how much everyone glazes him, but he's not that impressive besides the large amount of power and intellect he has. However, considering that the version 6 was able to take Gamma Jack's radiation bursts, and the fact that it should be more mobile thanks to its rounder shape, I think it could just barely beat Robo George and Harold. Yeah, but it's not beating Booger Boy. A way bigger, more agile threat who's also a city destroyer? Cut that. Now we get into the V8. We're skipping the V7 because we know nothing about it. The V8 has some on-screen feats, finally. These feats are pushing over giant trees, breaking rocks with ease, and are immune to lava. This thing is only really weak at its joints, but I don't think Booger Boy will use that to advantage considering he's retarded now. So I think the version 8 should work its way around and tear apart Booger Boy. It's not beating Sulu though. Sulu was way too quick and smart for the V8. We have one Omnidroid left, the Omnidroid version 10. We're skipping the version 9 because technically they're the same version. The version 9 is just a prototype, kind of, and once it beat Mr. Incredible, they made the final product. I don't know why they did that, but it's just the way it is. So, the Omnidroid version 10. This one probably has the biggest gapage of advancement out of, any Omnidroid. I mean, Syndrome said it himself.
You know, I went through quite a few supers to get it worthy to fight you, but man, it wasn't good enough. After you trashed the last one, I had to make some major modifications. Sure, it was difficult, but you are worth it.
The version 10 is way bigger, it's much more quick, way more durable, it could overpower Mr. Incredible, who can knock down buildings. I think it might even be able to overpower Sulu and maybe even kill him. Could it catch Sulu, given how fast he is? Probably. Its prototype version, the version 9, managed to surprise Mr. Incredible, who has danger senses, like a spider sense, basically. It would be a long fight. The Omnidroid would try to catch Sulu, but it would miss a couple times. It might get knocked over. It might smack him out of the sky. But eventually, I think the version 10 would pull through. But it's not beating Captain Underpants, let's be honest. Well, that settles it. It looks like most of you guys got the poll right. The Omnidroids do not survive the Captain Underpants series, but they make it pretty far. I hope you guys liked this video. Maybe you could subscribe and comment below if you want me to pit Captain Underpants against a Godzilla kaiju. So, the overall lesson we learned today was...
You are doo-doo. I are not doo-doo.